You ever feel like your thoughts are running the show, spinning non-stop, pulling you in 10 different directions, and somehow you're reacting to everything, but in control of nothing? In today's world, noise equals power. People talk fast, post faster, and think last. The result? Most men are scattered, restless, and exhausted, not from doing too little, but from doing too much of the wrong thing. But here's the truth. Real strength isn't loud. It's focused, it's steady. It's knowing when to stay silent, how to guide your mind, and what's truly worth your energy. This video isn't just theory, it's a roadmap. You'll learn how to quiet the chaos, center your thoughts, and build a presence that speaks volumes without needing to say a word. And when you do, everything changes. One man told me he saved his career, not by speaking up, but by learning when to stop talking. Welcome to Stoic Spirit. If you're ready to stop reacting and start mastering yourself, subscribe now and let's begin. Number 1. Thoughts aren't facts. Sometimes, it's not what happens that ruins your day, it's what your mind whispers about it. 1 minute, you're fine. The next, a single thought flashes across your mind. I messed up. And just like that, the rest of your day unravels. Not because anything actually changed, but because your mind declared a verdict, and you believed it without a second thought. That's the trap. Most people assume that every thought they have is meaningful, truthful even. But your mind doesn't always deal in truth. It deals in fear, in memory, in assumptions, in ancient patterns designed to protect you from tigers that no longer exist. And when you don't stop to question those thoughts, they don't just pass through you, they define you. You tell yourself, I'm not ready. She must hate me. I always mess things up. And then you live like those lines are carved in stone. Here's the shift. Your thoughts are not facts. They are mental weather, passing clouds, not permanent skies. And the moment you start treating them like background noise instead of gospel, you begin taking your power back. Philosophers knew this long ago. They taught that it isn't the event itself that disturbs you, but the interpretation you attach to it. Your judgment, not reality, is what creates your suffering. That voice in your head, it's fast, it's loud, and it rarely has receipts. But the truth? You get to decide what carries weight. Imagine this. Your mind is a courtroom. Every thought that enters is a witness. Some lie, some exaggerate, some are just echoes of old fears wearing new clothes. But you're the judge. And unless you interrogate those witnesses, unless you demand proof, they can sentence you to anxiety, insecurity, and paralysis. So how do you fight back? You don't argue. You observe. You take a breath, you hear the thought, and then you quietly say, that's interesting. I'm having the thought that I'm a failure. Just that phrase, I'm having the thought that. Creates space. It moves the statement from your identity to your awareness. And in that space, something incredible happens. You gain leverage over your own mind. This isn't about pretending negative thoughts don't exist. It's not about blind optimism or toxic positivity. It's about refusing to live as a prisoner to mental noise. You can feel doubt without being ruled by it. You can notice fear without bowing to it. True strength doesn't come from having perfect thoughts. It comes from seeing them for what they are, temporary, unreliable, and not always useful. The real work is quiet. It happens in the pause between thought and reaction. It's in the decision to pause before spiraling, to breathe before believing, to stand still while the storm of assumptions rages inside your skull. Because when you do that, you're not silencing your mind, you're training it. You're teaching yourself that thoughts are tools, not tyrants. That not every idea deserves your attention. And that clarity comes not from thinking more, but from thinking better. If you've ever felt hijacked by your own head, you're not broken, you're just untrained. And every day, you get the chance to practice seeing your thoughts, not as commands, but as suggestions. Suggestions you're free to ignore. Number 2. The power of saying less. Some people walk into a room and dominate it without saying a word. Others talk for 20 minutes and leave no impression at all. It's easy to assume that confidence comes from being vocal, from always having something to say. But in reality, the need to speak constantly often signals the opposite, a lack of control. True strength rarely announces itself. It waits, it watches, and when it speaks, it does so with purpose. We live in a time where silence is misunderstood. If you're quiet, people assume you're unsure, unprepared, or uninterested. But that assumption often backfires, because the man who chooses his words carefully, who listens more than he talks, carries a power that can't be faked. Think about it. How often do we speak just to fill the space, to defend ourselves, to prove we know something? The truth is, the more you're driven by ego, the harder it becomes to stay quiet. Ego hates silence. It fears being overlooked. But strength doesn't. Saying less isn't about shrinking. It's about refining. Every unnecessary word scatters your energy. Every impulsive response puts your emotions on display. And in a world where people are constantly reacting, the one who holds his tongue becomes the one in control. A man once told me about a meeting at work where tensions ran high. People were arguing over a failed project, everyone trying to sound smart, to shift blame, to take credit. But one junior manager didn't say a word for nearly an hour. He just listened, observed, and then, when the room was exhausted, he spoke one sentence, short, clear, solution-focused. The room went silent. His words ended the argument. And from that day on, people leaned in when he spoke. Because when you speak rarely, your words gain weight. There's a reason fighters don't swing wildly. They conserve energy and wait for the right moment. Your words should be the same, measured, intentional, necessary. Of course, silence can be uncomfortable. It leaves space for reflection. It exposes your thoughts. It demands that you sit with discomfort instead of covering it up with noise. But that discomfort is where mastery begins. Here's something to practice. Before you speak, ask yourself 3 things. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it rooted in calm or in ego? If the answer isn't clear, wait. The pause itself is a form of discipline. Over time, you'll notice that you're not talking less because you're holding back. You're talking less because you don't need to explain yourself. You're not trying to win every moment. You're trying to win the long game. Composure, clarity, and respect. Because in the end, the strongest presence in the room isn't the one with the loudest voice. It's the one who speaks the least, but says the most. Number 3, control what you can control. Everything can fall apart in a single week. Your job, your relationship, your sense of direction. And when it does, your instinct is to grip tighter, to wrestle everything back into place. But here's the truth. Not everything is yours to fix. And trying to control what isn't yours will drain you faster than any failure ever could. That's why real strength begins where control becomes clear. Most people burn out, not because of what's happening, but because of what they believe shouldn't be happening. They want others to act differently. They obsess over outcomes they can't force. They replay the past like it owes them something. Meanwhile, the only thing they can actually influence themselves gets ignored. The shift begins when you draw the line. What's within you, what's not. Your mindset, your decisions, your response. These are yours. Everything else, background noise. There's a simple practice that changes everything. 2 columns. On the left, write what you can't control. Other people's opinions, the economy, the weather, how fast things happen. On the right, what you can, your attitude, your routine, your words, your actions. Now ask yourself, where have you been wasting energy? One man I spoke with had been laid off after 12 years at the same company. At first he spiraled, blaming management, stressing over bills, panicking about the future. But then he shifted. He started waking up at 5:30 to run. Spent 2 hours every morning learning a new skill. Applied to 3 jobs daily. 60 days later, he was employed again. Not in the same role, but in a better mindset. He told me, I stopped trying to control what had already happened. I focused on what I could build next. That's the lesson. Strength isn't just about holding firm. It's knowing what to hold and what to release. Because when you stop fighting the uncontrollable, you free up energy to shape what actually matters. And here's the beautiful part. Once you focus inward, things begin to shift outward. No, you can't change how someone treats you, but you can choose how long they get access to you. You can't reverse a setback, but you can rise with a better plan. That's not weakness, it's strategy. Start asking yourself daily, is this in my hands? If not, let it burn without you. Let the storm rage and steer your own wheel. Because in the end, power isn't in having control over the world. It's in not needing to. It's in reclaiming your space, redirecting your focus, and building from the inside out. That's where calm begins. That's where clarity lives, and that's where real strength quietly takes root. Number 4. Focus on what makes you grow. You can't move forward if your mind keeps dragging you backward. And yet, most people wake up every day replaying the same arguments, the same regrets, the same moments they wish they could erase. It's like running on a treadmill of pain. You're moving, but going nowhere. Here's the truth. Your mind doesn't care what's helpful. It cares what's familiar. If you've spent years feeding it fear, guilt, or resentment, it'll keep offering you more of the same. And unless you take control of where your attention goes, you'll stay trapped, stuck in loops that feel real but don't serve you. Your focus is your most powerful currency. Whatever you invested in grows. Focus on what hurt you, the pain gets louder. Focus on what builds you, you grow stronger. It's simple but not easy. Think of your attention like water. A garden doesn't care what you plant. It'll grow weeds just as easily as flowers. The same goes for your thoughts. Every time you dwell on something destructive, you're watering the very thing holding you back. One woman I spoke to, a single mom of 2, shared how she couldn't stop thinking about the day she broke down in front of her kids. She felt like she'd failed them. For weeks, she beat herself up, replaying the moment, convincing herself she was unfit. But one morning, she asked a better question. What can I show them today? From that day forward, her mornings started with small wins, packing lunches, being present, reading to them at night. The guilt didn't vanish overnight, but her focus changed. And slowly, so did she. That's the shift we're talking about. You don't have to erase the past, but you do have to stop living in it. Your future isn't built from what you relive, it's built from what you choose to pay attention to now. And the present, messy as it may be, is the only place where growth can happen. Here's a practice. When your mind pulls you into a spiral, pause and ask, is this helping me become who I want to be? If the answer is no, gently redirect. Not by force, not with fake positivity, but with discipline. Discipline to choose again and again and again. Because you can't always control the thoughts that pop into your head, but you can absolutely decide which ones deserve to stay. Every time you return your attention to what makes you stronger, your health, your craft, your relationships, you're sending a message to yourself. I'm not wasting another day on what I can't change. That's how strength builds, in quiet choices, not loud emotions. You don't need to think more, you need to think better. And it starts by choosing to focus on what fuels your growth, not what feeds your wounds. Because in the end, you become what you focus on. So focus wisely. Number 5, accept what is. It's not what happens to you that breaks you. It's the refusal to accept that it did. So many people waste their lives fighting ghosts, arguing with the past, resisting the present, clinging to how things should have been. They don't just carry their pain. They rehearse it, rebuild it, replay it every morning like it owes them something. But the truth is brutal. Reality doesn't bend to your emotions. It doesn't care how much you wish things were different. It simply is. And you either learn to face it, or you keep getting crushed by your own resistance. Acceptance doesn't mean you're okay with what happened. It means you've stopped giving it control. One man I know spent years chasing his father's approval, working late, chasing promotions, becoming the man he thought would finally hear, "I'm proud of you." But when his father died, so did that hope. For months, he spiraled, resenting the silence, the missed chances, the childhood wounds. Then something shifted. He told me, I realized I was still waiting for something that was never coming, and that I had a choice to stay bitter or to grow without it. That day, he stopped living for someone else's validation. He started living for his own. This is where true strength begins, not in controlling outcomes, but in letting go of what no longer serves you. It takes courage to say, this is what happened. I didn't want it. I didn't deserve it. But it's real, and now I choose what comes next. That's not weakness. That's power in its rawest form. You can't heal by pretending the wound never happened. You heal by acknowledging the scar and building anyway. Here's something practical. When you catch yourself stuck in the why or what if, pause. Name what you're feeling. Don't sugarcoat it. Anger, shame, grief, regret. Let it be real. Then ask, what's one small action I can take today that moves me forward, even if this pain stays? That's the difference between being trapped and being free. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. Think about it. How much energy are you spending fighting what's already written? What would happen if you used that energy to write the next chapter instead? Another example, a woman finds out her business partner betrayed her, took the clients, ruined her reputation. She could have spent the next year seeking revenge, telling everyone what he did. But instead, she accepted the loss, learned the lesson, and built something new. 2 years later, her new company is thriving, not because she forgot the betrayal, but because she stopped letting it define her. Acceptance isn't passive, it's active surrender. It says, I may not like this, but I refuse to stay small because of it. When you stop resisting reality, your focus shifts. And when your focus shifts, your power returns. Quietly, fully, permanently. Let go of the fight. Let the moment be what it is, and use it, not as an excuse, but as the raw material for your next rise. That's how you reclaim your strength. Not with noise, not with drama, but with clarity, discipline, and quiet resolve. Number 6. Embrace silence for clarity. You wake up and the noise begins before your feet even hit the floor. Notifications, news, expectations, deadlines. The world pulls you in 20 directions and you haven't even brushed your teeth yet. And in that storm of noise, one thing gets drowned out. You. We've mistaken constant activity for clarity. We think the more we do, the more we talk, the faster we move, the closer we are to progress. But real strength doesn't scream. It doesn't race. It whispers patiently from the silence you've been avoiding. Because silence, it's not just absence, it's presence. It's the only place where you can hear yourself think without the world interrupting. So many people fear silence not because it's empty, but because it's honest. In silence, there's no one left to impress, no noise to hide behind, just your thoughts, your fears, your truth. That's why it's powerful. That's why it's uncomfortable. And that's why it's necessary. Think about this. When was the last time you just sat? No music, no scrolling, no planning, just sat with yourself. For most, even 2 minutes feels unbearable. But that's the problem. We've built entire lives around avoiding ourselves. A friend of mine, an executive who once bragged about 15-hour workdays, told me something that stuck. He said, I finally started waking up 10 minutes earlier just to sit with my coffee in silence. No phone, no agenda, just me. I've made more important decisions in those 10 minutes than in weeks of strategy meetings. That's what clarity looks like. Because clarity doesn't come when you shout louder. It comes when everything else gets quiet. And that silence isn't passive. It's where you realign. It's where you check your direction before you keep driving 90 miles an hour toward burnout. It's where you remember what actually matters. Here's something you can try. Every morning before the world barges in, sit still for 5 minutes. Don't fix anything. Don't solve anything. Just listen. Let the mental dust settle. You'll be surprised what surfaces when the noise fades. Or try this. Next time you're overwhelmed, don't vent. Don't distract yourself. Step outside. Breathe deep. Feel your feet on the ground. Let the silence remind you that not everything needs your reaction, only your attention. Because attention is power. And silence is how you sharpen it. When you choose silence, you choose discipline. You become harder to provoke, slower to speak, more intentional in what you allow into your mind. You stop chasing everything and start seeing what's truly worth your focus. That's the essence of real strength. Not thinking more, but thinking better. Not saying more, but saying what counts. Not being everywhere, but being fully present where it matters. And it all begins in silence. Let the world be loud. Let the chaos swirl. You'll be the one who builds clarity in quiet, who moves with intention, not impulse. Because once you learn to embrace silence, you stop reacting and start responding. And from that space, you lead. You create. You grow. On your terms. Number 7. Talk less, think more. The most damaging things we say are rarely intentional. They're the result of rushing to speak before taking the time to think. Most people don't realize this, but every word that leaves your mouth is a reflection of what's happening inside your mind. And the more chaotic your thoughts, the more reckless your words. We live in a culture that rewards quick responses. Say something clever, react fast, win the argument. But strength doesn't lie in being the loudest in the room. It lies in knowing when silence is more powerful than speech. Talking less isn't about becoming distant or disengaged. It's about increasing the value of your voice. When you speak with intention, people listen differently. Your words carry weight because they're not thrown out casually. They're shaped by thought, anchored by clarity. Many people believe that constant talking proves intelligence or leadership. But often, it's the opposite. Those who can't stop speaking are usually trying to compensate, either for insecurity or for lack of direction. But those who are truly confident, they don't need to fill every space with noise. They choose their words carefully, like tools, not weapons. The truth is, when you talk less, you create space. Space for deeper thought, sharper observation, and stronger decisions. You slow down just enough to notice what others miss, and you begin to lead with precision instead of reaction. There's also a discipline to speaking less. It's the discipline of withholding unnecessary opinions, of not reacting just to prove a point, of recognizing that silence doesn't mean weakness. It means you're choosing when and how to engage with power. You're no longer a slave to every impulse or emotion. You're in control. This shift isn't easy. The urge to respond, to be heard, to defend or explain, it runs deep. But if you pause, even for a few seconds, you give yourself a moment to choose a better response. That pause alone can be the difference between growth and regret, between escalation and wisdom. Let's be clear. This isn't about being passive. It's about becoming strategic. Every sentence you speak either builds your reputation or chips away at it. The less you talk, the more people wonder what you're thinking. The more intentional you are with words, the more credibility you build. And most importantly, when you speak after deep thought, your words don't just land. They resonate. So train yourself to listen more than you speak. Think more than you react. Speak only when you've weighed the impact of your words. That's how you command respect without demanding attention. That's how your presence becomes a force, not by volume, but by value. In the end, true strength isn't in having something to say all the time. It's in having the discipline to say only what matters. That's the difference between noise and influence. And it starts when you talk less, but think much, much more. You've just explored a simple yet powerful truth. Real strength doesn't come from reacting louder or thinking harder. It begins when you quiet the noise, speak with purpose, and channel your energy where it matters most. Start small. 5 minutes of silence each morning. One choice you fully control. One conversation you pause before speaking. These aren't minor habits. They're the foundation of a resilient, focused life. If this video helped shift your mindset, let us know. What part hit you the hardest? What lesson will you apply today? Drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're ready to keep growing, subscribe to Stoic Spirit. There's more coming. More insight, more strength, more clarity. Because this isn't just a video. It's your next step toward inner power. And trust me, this journey is just getting started.